My biggest fear was being in front of people. So this is it right here.
This? Really? How do you feel in your body right now?
So when I got called, I went and bawled in the bathroom for a little bit.
I think you're doing fantastic.
Yeah, I'm doing really good.
Your body, when you're about to do something that's important to you, it goes into a state of being prepared to be present. That's all that's happening. So right before you're about to hit live and you feel your stomach turn, anybody feel that when you're about to go live? Yeah. Do you know what's happening in your body? The blood is pulling away from your digestive tract, and it's actually going to your organs so that your body is in a state to be prepared and focused. Because if you're doing something where you're prepared and focused, you don't need to be digesting your food. And that's why your stomach grumbles. That's the only reason why it's happening. Nothing's about to go wrong. Your body's preparing to do something that requires focus. That's it. That is it. And here's an even TMI thing. You know how before you're about to give a speech, or maybe you're doing something you really prepare about and suddenly you got to go to the bathroom? That is your body getting rid of extra waste so that if you had to run, you could. Seriously. That's what that's for. And it happens to me every freaking speech. 10 minutes before, I'm like, where's the bathroom? They're like, you can't go right now. I'm like, but I have to go. You can't go right now. Yeah, you're the same. And so it's never going to leave you, and it's a good thing because your body's trying to help you focus in the moment. That's all that's going on. It's our minds that screw it up. So what is the biggest obstacle that you're facing right now?
Just this.
This?
People looking at me, yeah. All the eyes, it's overstimulating for my system.
Okay, well, stand up.
Like a panic attack. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you're standing here, and I want you to just, okay, you're going to stand in front of me because I don't even want to be standing, and I want you to just kind of look into people's eyes. Look all the way in the back row over here. Look in the back row over there. Yep.
I'm so glad. I need this so much.
What are you getting from this?
That I'm safe. It's okay.
Yes. Yeah. And look, there are gonna be people that judge you.
Yep.
There are gonna be people that comment nasty, stuff on your thing. And one of the things that I want to share with you that's really fascinating is that I read something about this psychological thing that happens when people tweet, when they text, and when they write comments online. Psychologically, when people are doing that, they're not thinking about you. Believe it or not, they're not thinking about you. Because what happens for most people is that when you read an article or you read a tweet, and you're like, well, that son of a, and you like go off in your body, the reason why you go off and react is because you read the tweet. It's actually a psychological state as if you're talking to yourself. And so if you don't agree with what the person is saying, you react to it in your own mind as if, Mel, have you gone crazy? You don't believe that. And then you sound off in a comment, not even thinking about the other person. You're literally debating yourself. And so they've done study after study about trolls, about people that write stuff, because I think the scariest thing about putting yourself out there, particularly if you're doing it in videos, or you're putting your work out there, or you're putting your business, you're launching a coaching business, or you're launching a business to help other people. When you put yourself out there, people will come back. And this is where it is so important to understand that when people react, they're reacting to something in them. And they're not even psychologically capable of considering you or your opinion. Because we think, well, how could somebody possibly think that? Because I don't think that. So if somebody reacts to you in your life, for example, and you decide to quit your job, and you decide to become a personal trainer, and you decide to launch a coaching business, and you get some of that kind of side eye from friends, right? Part of what's getting confronted is they don't know how they could possibly do that. And they have been talking to themselves in their own minds. that it's not possible. And so they're having a debate with themselves. Well, nobody makes money in network marketing. I mean, really? Watch me. So they say those things because they're talking to themselves. You know, the irony about me is you guys think I'm talking to you. It's actually a pep talk out loud for myself at all times. Yes. So understand that you can find people to support you. You will always find people to criticize you. Watch, though, how when somebody outside of you criticizes you, how that triggers the internal pattern. So what is the pattern that you have of thinking that gets triggered that disempowers you?
That I won't have any words.
You won't have any words. Let's go deeper than that. Is it something about being loved or being unworthy or not being good enough? What is underneath, I won't have the words?
Yeah, they won't be the right words, and it won't be good enough, yeah.
Okay. And so do you have an opinion that you're not good enough or not deserving of success? Or that you're not smart enough to make a difference?
Yeah.
What is the one? What is the thing that hooks you? That you say to yourself?
That I'm stupid.
Okay, there we go. That's a good one. Not a good one, but you know what I mean. That's a good one.
Or
because,
I'm a piece of shit. That's my big
Okay, I'm a piece of shit. Now we're talking.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Who told you that?
I don't know who told me that.
When did you start believing that?
As a little girl, yeah. God, I've just been saying it for so long, I don't know.
That's okay. She said, I've been saying it for so long, I don't know.
Yeah.
As you now know what you're looking for, you're going to start to connect the dots, okay? And so here's the thing. At some point, you started telling yourself, whatever, I'm a piece of as a strategy. You did it on purpose as a youngster, as a way to survive things that were happening. Because maybe when you said, well, I'm a piece of you actually got really quiet and you didn't get hit. Or maybe when you said that, you removed yourself from situations when you would have been abused or something. It worked because it protected you, as weird as it sounds.
Yeah.
Are you seeing something?
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
Well, yeah, my dad he wanted me to be quiet in the corner, being quiet, yeah. We couldn't make noise and
Okay.
cry.
And if you raised your voice, you got in trouble. So do you guys see the link now between why she has a concern about finding her words?
Oh, yeah, I didn't get that one.
You see that now?
Yeah.
So every time that you are in a situation where you need to speak up, how many of you are relating to this, by the way? I have a theory about all of us, that we have patterns and strategies that we created when we were little in order to survive situations. And what she internalized was don't speak up, and you're a piece of shit if you do. And believe me, that protected your ass. It worked, because you didn't speak up and you didn't get in trouble with your dad.
Right, and I still got the love. So if I speak up now, I'm going to lose my dad's love.
Do you see this?
Yeah.
So this is a pattern that got written when she was little. And it was written by someone else. And it worked. It worked. The problem is now that you're...
It's not working now.
It's not working now.
It's not working now.
Not working now.
Can't
And
move
see,
forward.
exactly. And so this is what's fascinating about all this. There are places in your life where you have patterns that you don't even recognize, that were strategies that you developed when you were a kid. And so in the areas where you're really frustrated, that pattern is probably not present or conscious, something that you're aware of. And so every single time, because you've been repeating this and repeating it and repeating it, every single time you're about to hit play, every single time you're going to stand on a stage, what's going to be right there is don't speak up.
Yeah. Freeze.
Yes, freeze. And you're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The only thing that actually overrides this pattern is to speak. And through speaking, you will see that you're not a piece of shit. You actually have something to say. Or you could make fun of it and say, well, I guess I'm just a piece of shit, something to say.
That's going to be my thing.
Yes.
I'm a piece of shit, and I got something to say.
That's right. And I also like the strategy of kind of making the fun of the stuff, even the heavy stuff, because it loses its grip on me. It works for me. It may not work for you, but it's something to try. Okay, you got it?
Thank you.
Cool.
Great
Awesome.
job.
Today we're going to talk about the biggest fear that people have in life. You know, Seinfeld famously joked that the person in the coffin isn't scared. It's the person who has to speak about the person in the coffin who is. The fear of public speaking is the number one fear that people have. And I don't even mean necessarily talking on a stage like I do for a living. I'm talking about the fear of speaking in public, sharing your ideas at work, expressing what you need to other people, having hard conversations with friends and family, talking at a meeting at school, pushing back on something with a doctor, like just being able to express yourself. And the reason why this is such a huge fear for people is because it is a moment of intense vulnerability. The second that you go to speak at work, what happens? Everybody turns and all eyes are on you. And suddenly you feel like there's a spotlight on you and you get really worried about being judged. Same thing happens when you have to speak in class, right? When you got called on in class, most people get a little nervous. A lot of people hated that moment in elementary school when you had to read out loud. That's a moment of public speaking. And we are so afraid in that moment when the spotlight is on us. And I've shared in a number of episodes that I used to be terrified of public speaking. I would turn bright red when I got called on as a little kid. In law school, I would start coughing attacks or I would leave the room. As a young lawyer, I would wear a scarf because I'd get these neck rashes as I was talking to the judge and to the prosecutor in a small courtroom. And I just figured I would be the kind of person that always had a bright red face, always had an awful case of hives on my chest, always felt my tongue going dry. And I hated it. I hated it, hated it, hated it. And today what I'm going to talk about is how I went from being afraid of public speaking to becoming, I'm almost like, it sounds braggadocious, but the truth is I went from that to being the most successful female speaker in the world. More than 111 speeches a year on the corporate circuit. So Microsoft, Starbucks, JP Morgan, AT&T, any kind of company you can imagine. I've been there. Now, the first question I always get is, how did you get into the speaking business and how did you become the most sought after female speaker on the corporate speaking circuit, Mel? Well, the truth is I didn't set out to do anything. I've told you guys a story about how that TEDx talk happened by accident in 2011 and how I had a 21-minute long panic attack while I was giving that talk, and I never thought I would speak ever, ever, ever again. And then something crazy happened. A year later, somebody put the TEDx talk online, and for another year, it went crazy viral. And I didn't even know it was online. And so we're talking 2013. Now, by mid-2013, people start to reach out to me on Facebook and say, hey, I saw that thing in San Francisco. And I'm like, were you there? They're like, no, it's online. I'm like, it's online? And I realized, holy cow, this thing's online. It's got like 1 million views. That's crazy. And people kept reaching out. And it was mainly women's conferences. And they were asking if I wanted to come and do like a breakout session. And they wanted me to just repeat that TEDx talk. And so I had no idea that this was an industry or a business. I looked at speaking as something that famous people do, something that sports people do, something that people that are major authors must do. So I didn't have a book. I didn't have anything. I just had my little secret 5-second rule in my back pocket. I had a TEDx talk that had mistakenly gone viral online. And now I had people asking me if I would come and I would talk in breakout sessions at women's conferences. And I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. Now, keep in mind in my life, this is the moment when Chris has left the restaurant industry. He is bottomed out, not functioning, focused on getting sober. And I am working 2 jobs trying to keep things afloat. I mean, it is a really scrambling time in our life. And so I said yes to these things. And I'll never forget it. In 2013, I did 7 talks, I think it was, all for free. I had no idea that people got paid to do this. And I was doing it because I wanted to escape the pressure of my life. And if I'm being perfectly honest, as nervous as I was that about doing this, and I'd get a big neck rash and I'd turn bright red in my face, as nervous as I was, there was something about being asked to tell my story and inspire other people that really lifted me up and made me feel, I don't know, like it's sort of like how you fluff a pillow up when it's looking deflated. It just lifted my spirits a little bit to have the focus be on helping other people. And so it was like a lifeline. But I was still so nervous. When I tell you I was nervous, I mean, I was so nervous. I not only wore Spanx, I would put like a pad in the Spanx because I was sweating so much. I had all kinds of wardrobe fails because I would literally sweat like Niagara Falls. That's what I do. I have a hot flash as I get nervous. So I'll never forget it. It was the Pennsylvania Women's Conference. It was Hillary Clinton, I think, was the keynote speaker. And then there was this incredible woman who was the principal of Strawberry Hill Mansion, who I just love. And she spoke in the main room, 14,000 women there. And I was in this breakout session. And it was the largest room I had ever been in. I almost had a heart attack. There were like 1,000 seats set up. And I had never been in a room that size. So I give this talk, which was largely just a mimic of the TEDx talk that I did. And this woman comes up to me afterwards and she's like, "Oh my God, you were so great," which was really nice to hear. And she said, "Can I ask you a question? I was also a speaker this morning. I was in a breakout room on a panel and I just want to ask you a question, speaker to speaker." And I was like, "Of course." And she said, "Did you get your check yet?" And I said, "Check? Wait a minute, you got paid for this?" And she looked at me with horror and said, "Oh my God, I'm really sorry. I just assumed like you had I just assumed that you got paid." I'm like, people get paid for this? Like normal people get paid for this? And I was so flabbergasted. It was one of those moments where you're just like, am I the stupidest fucking idiot on the planet? Does everybody else know this shit but me? And I was so dumbfounded that for 2 weeks I was just like stunned at what an idiot I was. I didn't even think to ask anybody to pay me to do this, because I didn't think I was any good at it. So I made myself a promise. I said, "You know what? I have no idea what to charge. You don't have a book. You should probably write one of those too. But first you got to figure out how to keep the lights on in the house and keep the family afloat and keep paying the bills." And I thought, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to just, when the next person calls and says, "We'd like to book you to speak," I'm going to pause, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take a breath. And then I'm going to say, "I think I'm available. What's your budget?" And then I'm going to wait. I'm going to listen to the number, and then I'm going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pause. Normally I'm double. And pause and see what happens. Because I didn't even know what to price myself at. So 2 weeks later, the phone rings. And it's this guy in Dallas, Darren Paul. And he had been in the speaking business for like 20 years. And he says, blah, 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 heard da-da-da-da-da. And I got to thank his wife, Lori, because she's the one that saw my TEDx talk going viral on Facebook. And she said to her husband, "You got to book this woman for our sales conference for Jay Hilburn." And so Darren calls me. First phone call I received, no joke, when I've made myself this promise. And he asked if I'm available 5 months from now in Dallas in August to speak at the National Sales Conference for this company, Jay Hilburn. I said, "I think I'm available. What's your budget?" And he said, $10,000. I dropped the fucking phone. We had liens on our 10,000. I had no fucking idea, people. What the 10,000 fucking dollars? Are you fucking kidding me? I will literally, I'll strip for that. I mean, that's unbelievable. So I forgot the second part. I was like, okay, I'm in. Yes. Now, luckily I was so nervous. And sometimes fear is a fantastic thing because it motivates you. I was so nervous because I felt so unworthy of that amount of money that I did something really smart, and fear motivated me to do this. I was so nervous that I would fall flat on my face because I believed I was not worthy of that kind of money because I had never made that kind of money. That I used half of the budget to pay a graphic designer to help me create a PowerPoint because I needed at least something that would look like that. And I practiced and I practiced and I prepared. And that's one of the big things that you got to take away. One of the best freaking tools for nerves is preparation. The more you prepare, what you're actually doing is working through your own resistance to this shit. You're creating muscle memory. You're rehearsing. Will you choke? Maybe, but not after I teach you the tools that I'm going to teach you today. But you will never get better or conquer your fear of doing this, public speaking, if you're unwilling to prepare. So part of the nerves might be that you're not even preparing enough. You're not rehearsing. You're not rehearsing in front of people. You're not taking the time to edit your mark. Like, it takes time, and rehearsal is so important. If you prepare, you're removing nerves. You're setting yourself up to win. And so think about preparing like you're just building this muscle. It doesn't take the nerves away or the fear away or the stakes away, but by God, it's going to help these tools work because you will have the preparation. There's this really famous quote that I love that I talk about all the time. It's by Charlie Bird Parker. I don't even know if this is a real story, but I love this quote. Apparently, Charlie Bird Parker, the famous jazz musician, was asked by a journalist who was writing a big article about him, how the hell do you do what you do with that horn? And you know what Charlie Bird Parker said? He said, well, first you got to learn your instrument. And that takes years, decades of practice. You got to study it. You got to rehearse. You got to do your scales. You got to practice over and over and over and over and over again until you learn that instrument. And then you forget all that shit they taught you and you just wail. And so preparation allows you to tap into your genius. Preparation is what allows you to improv, to freestyle, to be fully express the highest you, to channel, to like tap into something. And it's in there in you. That's why you feel this push-pull and this desire to show up more in your life. So I spent all this time preparing, and I showed up, and there are moments in your life that really matter. And this was one of them. I met this moment. I stepped on that stage with my neck rash and my rosy cheeks and my dry mouth, and I fucking destroyed it. Because I had prepared, because I was afraid. Now, I also had the biggest wardrobe failure I have ever had on a stage. So I wore this dress because at the time I was a commentator for CNN, and I used to wear this dress all the time on CNN. And I thought, okay, if somebody's paying you that kind of money, you got to look like you're on TV. So I wore this like kind of power lady dress. You can already imagine it, right? It's got like sort of the V-neck and the pencil skirt, and it's hard to walk in. It looks good on television, but you're not moving and you're sitting in a chair. I had never looked at it with a light behind me. And at the end of the speech, I just fillet this thing. I walk off that stage. It was the first time I'd ever been projected on a jumbotron in an arena. And after the speech, this woman came up to me. She was darling. She's like, oh my God, I love the 5-second rule. Thank you so much for those. It was amazing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to pay my mortgage this month. This is great. And she said, you were so great. I have to tell you something. And I'm like, what? She said, don't ever wear that dress again. I said, why? She said, I don't even want to tell you this. I said, what? She said, I could not only see that you were wearing Spanx, but that you had a thong on underneath them. That dress is so see-through, and you could see it all on the Jumbotron. Okay. We went from winning to wanting to melt and crawl into a hole, but fuck it. You know, I honestly, when you fuck up, you know what the research shows? People like you more. And that shows in that comment. That, by the way, is called the pratfall effect, that your imperfections make you more likable, more trustworthy. It makes you as an expert be somebody that people lean toward. And you've had this experience, haven't you? Where you might have somebody that's got a PhD, that's a know-it-all, that's really snooty and talking down to you. You're kind of like, I don't want to learn from you. But when you got somebody that is, on a stage or teaching you something, or just somebody you meet, if there's something that humanizes them, it so builds trust. And that's an important thing to understand, because the idea here is not that you're going to get it perfect. It's that you're willing to try. So maybe that's why I destroyed it. I don't know. Everyone was rooting for me because you could see the Spanx and the thong underneath the dress. But that dress went in the freaking trash can at the hotel, never to see the light of day again, although I hope somebody pulled it out and used it. But I never looked back from that moment, because Darren, who booked me, had been in this business for 20 years. And he said, I got to tell you, you are top 3 of all time and the single best female speaker I have ever seen in my entire life. Who manages your business? And I said, you do. And he has run my speaking business ever since. And so along the way, it took me several years to truly get over my nerves. And I don't get nervous. I care deeply. I get super intentional about the stakes, because I really want to make a huge difference, and I want to destroy it on these stages and entertain and empower and inspire and all of it. So I do care about how I perform when I am stepping on a stage or I'm behind this mic. But I have come up with incredible ways to not only face my fear of public speaking, but to conquer it, and to use science and really amazing mental reframes to tame those nerves. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. Because you know what I want for you? I want your fullest expression. I want fear to stop holding you back. I want you to trust fall into your life. I want you to take that first step and climb the staircase to the things that you want in your life. And there are too many places where fear holds you back and keeps you silent and has you questioning yourself. And so that was me too. And I just chipped away at this fucker. And I'm so glad that I did, because I just can't even imagine how much I would yearn for what I'm doing now without even realizing it. But the first step is admitting that there are fears that are holding you back. And so we're going to use public speaking, because it's the number one fear for everybody. I am here at the Dallas Convention Center, and there are 3,000 chairs out there. And we have just run through the tech rehearsal, and I'm going to tell you a little secret about how I manage my nerves and how I flip it into excitement. And this is something you can steal. There's always a reason why you are doing something. And when you can find the reason or the purpose for why you want to either give that speech or destroy this sales presentation or walk into your boss and advocate for yourself because of the contributions that you're making, or you just want to find the courage to stand up in a town meeting and talk. There's always a reason why. And so before you're about to do it, one of the things that you want to do is you want to remind yourself of why this matters to you. I want to, for example, at work, I want to be compensated and valued for my contributions, and it's my responsibility to make those contributions known. And so I'm going to be super proud of myself if and when I say this. Or I want to make a difference in my town, and so I'm going to have to start speaking up because my voice needs to be heard. I don't want to be complaining about what's going on in this town in my own house. I want to be advocating for what changes I'd like to see make, because I can make a difference. For me, whenever I give a speech, I always say the same thing to myself. I say that, yes, there are 3,000 seats here, but I'm only ever talking to one person. And I believe that there is one person in this audience today who is here because they are meant to be here. And there is something that I am about to say that will change their entire life. That they're going to learn something that might cure their anxiety, or that might help them through a very, very, very dark moment, to know that this is temporary. There is someone that's going to be inspired to make a major change. And I know that in the course of the hour that I am speaking on this stage, something is going to happen that is meant for that person. And if I trust that, it allows me to just ditch the script and show up as my full, highest expressed self. You know, look, it might be that I trip on the stage coming out. Not planned, but somebody in the audience seeing that, wow, if that woman on the stage trips and she gets back up, maybe I can stumble and get back up too. Look at how she just brushes it off and she doesn't care. What if I had that? I mean, it could be that. It could be something really profound like getting sober or leaving a really abusive marriage. So I remind myself of that, and I'm only ever talking to one person. And that helps me. It helps me to stay focused and to know that what I'm about to do, even if it makes my stomach twist in knots, or even if I'm a little, quote, nervous about how it's going to go, it helps me stay aligned with my purpose. And that's where your power alley is always in life. And that's why it's so important for you to push yourself, to express yourself and advocate for yourself and share your story. And so steal that idea. Remind yourself of why you're doing this. Only talk to one person and tell yourself that there is a person in this room and you are meant to say something in this room because somebody needs to hear you say it. And when you trust that, it's not about you. It's about the impact that you're about to make. Okay, we should get off the stage because we got to go backstage and get ready. I go on in about an hour. And this is normally the dead zone for people where they've practiced, they've run through something, and now they wait. And this is where your nerves can get the worst of you. So next up, after a short break for a word for our sponsors, I'm going to teach you the real trick from Harvard Medical School to reframe all those nerves backstage or right before or in anticipation of into excitement so that you can align yourself with your mission and express yourself. Mwah. All right, 5 minutes before I take the stage, and here's the big trick. You know, we reframe fear into excitement. And the thing about nervousness is just your body trying to get you into an alert state because what you're about to do requires you to concentrate. So, for example, you get nervous before a test because it's important and you have to concentrate and you care about the outcome. You get nervous before giving a presentation because you have to pay attention and the outcome's important. You get nervous before you have to sing or go into an interview or go on a date because you're going to be basically putting yourself out there and it's important and you care about the outcome and you got to pay attention. That's what nerves are about. It's about getting you to get into an alert state. Same thing as excitement. Excitement is when your body goes into an alert state because something cool is about to happen and you got to pay attention. And so right now, I literally say to myself, I'm not nervous. I'm really excited. I'm not nervous at all. In fact, I'm so excited to get out on that stage. Why? Because there is one person out there whose life is going to change. And as I get more and more excited and get closer to walking up to that stage, my stomach will start to grumble. I will have to pee. My armpits will sweat. My mouth is starting to get dry. But I keep telling myself, I'm not nervous. Those aren't butterflies. Those are the wings of possibility. Ooh, that's nice. That's deep, Mel. Those are just me getting ready to do something that I care about. And I'm excited to get out there and I'm excited to make a difference. And I'm excited to express myself. And I'm excited to push myself to do something like this. And so that's my little ritual. I don't dance around. I don't meditate. I don't get calm. I tap into excitement and I hijack the nerves and I label it something empowering. And that settles my body and it makes my focus get really laser focused on the impact I want to make. And that will help you perform. Okay, let me explain why your stomach has butterflies when you're nervous and why you have to pee and why your heart races and why your armpits sweat. This is all part of an automatic response in your body to either something that is exciting or something that is stressful. And when you roll back the clock in terms of evolution and you take a look at stress, we could spend hours and hours and hours talking about this, but I'm just going to boil it down so that you have enough understanding to trust what I'm telling you about why reframing nerves into excitement works. This is from research at Harvard Medical School, where they studied people in situations that made them nervous, job interviews, giving a speech, participating in a debate competition, singing, and running in a track meet. And they taught all of these people to tell themselves they were excited to do the thing that made them nervous, and it helped them perform better. And the reason why reframing stressful situations into excitement works is because there's no physiological difference in your body between a moment that's stressful and a moment that's exciting. Your body has the same alert response to it. All of the blood goes to your heart, it goes to your brain, and that means it leaves your digestive tract. Because honestly, you don't need to be digesting food if you're going to take a test. You don't need to be digesting food if you're going to sing on a stage. You don't need to be digesting food if you're going to give a speech. So the blood goes to your heart so that you can, move, and it goes to your brain so you can think. And I'm dumbing this down. I realize there's a lot more complex science, but just the chemical structure, physiological structure changes. That's where the butterflies come in. See, the butterflies aren't there because you're nervous or excited. The butterflies are there because the blood flow increased to your heart, which is why your heart is racing. And the butterflies are due to that chemical change from the blood going to the heart and not being in the digestive tract. That's what that is, dude. That's also why you have to pee. Because you're not going to need to pee on stage. You're not going to need to pee while you're singing. And so your body has this natural response in exciting or stressful situations to dump what's ever in your bladder or in your bowels. Why? So that you can focus and so that you can run faster or perform better. That's why this happens. And so one of the mistakes that people make is that when they get nervous and they start getting butterflies, you think the butterflies are a sign that you're about to fuck up. No, it's a sign that your body's getting ready to do something. And you get to decide whether you call the thing you're about to do exciting or scary. And that's why the reframing works. Because there's no difference between you walking onto a stage and your heart racing and your armpits sweating and your throat being dry and your stomach being, whoop, see, we are backstage. We're going to let the applause die down. And your stomach being in knots, which is a situation that makes you nervous, or you going to a concert and your favorite band. I can't wait to see Coldplay this fall. When they take that stage, let me tell you something. Right before they come on, I'm going to have to pee. There are going to be pterodactyls in my stomach. My armpits are going to be sweating. My heart's going to be racing. But I'm excited because I said I'm excited. So reframing works. And here's the really important reason why this matters. Not only are you not going to freak yourself out by going, oh my God, my stomach's in knots, it really hurts, which only increases how stressed you are, by the way. But by telling yourself you're excited, you stabilize yourself. Your thoughts don't race. And based on research from UCLA from Dr. Judith Willis, your stress response doesn't impact your brain functioning, which means all that preparation of studying for the test or preparing for the speech or the presentation, you don't choke. You can tap into it. And so I think they're getting close. So I got to shortchange this science lesson right now. And I realize it's very elementary. But I want you to understand why you get butterflies, and it's not because you're about to fuck up. It's because you're about to do something that you can do and that matters, so go frickin' do it, which is what I'm going to do. Let's do this! All right, ladies, get ready, because I'm about to come on stage. You know, one of the reasons why I love you is you have been an expert on the brain and a psychiatrist for 40 years, and you do not focus on what's wrong with us. You literally teach us how to bring out like more awesomeness through brain health. You call it elite brain training. What is that?
Well, a long time ago, I realized I hated the term mental illness. It shames people, it's stigmatizing, and it's wrong. There are brain health issues. And if I can teach you to get your brain healthy, well, your mind is better. People often don't understand that. Your brain, physical functioning of your brain creates your mind. And so if you want to be elite, you're already elite. But the people I work with, everybody wants to be better. Nobody wants to be told they're mental. And so the mission I have on the planet is to end the whole concept of mental illness and create this revolution in brain health, which is why I'm so grateful to hang out with you today.
Oh, I wasn't planning on asking you this, But I just was struck by the fact that you distinguished between the brain and the mind. What's the difference between your brain and your mind?
Well, your brain, the physical functioning of your brain creates your mind. And people get this mixed up all the time, but you just have to think of someone who has Alzheimer's disease. And if you saw the scans of people with Alzheimer's disease, you see that they're wildly damaged. And then that person is no longer fully that person because their brain has been damaged. Or just take COVID.
Mm-hmm.
People who get COVID in the next 4 months have a 25% chance of having a new onset psychiatric illness because COVID causes inflammation in the brain. And then I was on the Kardashian show recently, and Kendall came to see me, and she's like, after I got COVID, I'm so anxious. But if you look at the physical functioning of her brain, her emotional centers are on fire. And so people really need to know, if you want a healthy mind, the first thing to have is a healthy brain.
And when you say a healthy brain, so that makes sense to me, Dr. N, first of all, especially the Alzheimer's example. It makes sense to me that when the physical structure and functioning of your brain is impacted, of course it has an impact on the state of your mind. And so are you saying that absolutely anybody can improve the physical health of their brain, and that will have an impact on your happiness, your performance, and your mental health?
Everything. And it happens quickly. So for example, if you get better sleep tonight, your
Yep.
mind will be better tomorrow. If you get drunk tonight, your mind's going to be worse tomorrow. And because those both have a direct impact on the physical functioning of your brain.
Wow. Like, it's interesting because you're right. There is so much information and so many conversations out there about mental health, but you have this revolutionary approach of teaching all of us how to take better care of our brain and how to improve our brain itself and how that has a direct impact. So I want to start at the very beginning because, you've been doing this for 40 years. You are, in my opinion, the world's leading expert on the brain. And can you give us just a 101 on the brain and what you want anybody and everybody to know about the brain? And I want you to speak directly, Dr. Amen, to somebody who may be listening who's never thought about this topic before.
So your brain is involved in everything you do, how you think, how you feel, how you act, how you get along with other people. It's the organ of intelligence, character, and every single decision you make. And when your brain works right, you work right. And when your brain is troubled for whatever reason, you're sadder, sicker, poorer, because your decisions aren't as good. And the very first step in getting a healthy brain is developing a concept I call brain envy. I always say Freud was wrong. Penis envy is not the cause of anybody's problem. I haven't seen it once in 40 years. It's brain envy is what you want. You want to love the 3 pounds of fat between your ears. Today I'm in Miami, but I usually live in Newport Beach, where we have more plastic surgeons than almost anywhere in the world, because people care more about their faces, their breasts, their bellies, and their butts than they do their brain. And that's insane, because it's your brain that makes you attractive. It's your brain that makes you happy. It's your brain that keeps you purposeful, or it's your brain that is the organ of rage. And so getting your brain right is critical. And it's these 3 steps: brain envy, got to care, avoid anything that hurts it, know the list. And quite frankly, most second graders would get a 90% if you gave them 100 things that hurt their brain. And then the third thing is regularly do things that help it. And I worked with BJ Fogg for 6 months. He runs a persuasive tech lab at Stanford on how people change. And we develop tiny habits. You know, what's the smallest thing you can do today that will make the biggest difference? And the mother tiny habit is whenever you go to do something today, ask yourself, takes 3 seconds. Ask yourself, is this good for my brain or bad for it? And if you can answer that with information and love of yourself, love of your family, love of your mission, you're going to just start making better decisions because you care about the organ that makes you, you.
Wow. All right, let me unpack this. So number 1, brain envy is this idea of actually caring about the health of your brain. And so do you recommend that you have somebody in mind that you envy? Like, clearly I envy you because you take incredible care of your brain. But is it just this concept that you just actually have to wake up and realize that what's in between your ears is the most important aspect of your health and wellness, period? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And number 2, you then said that there are these micro habits that you have developed, one of which is asking yourself literally throughout the day, is this good or bad for my brain? So let me just role play that one real quick. Because you said that, like 90% of second graders can answer the question correctly almost all of the time, but we adults get it terribly wrong. So let's just say it's breakfast time. So how do you use this to start to make better choices that help your brain? Like, do you literally go, okay, am I having a cup of coffee or a glass of water? Am I eating like a big piece of toast with tons of butter and all this crap on it? Am I taking my supplements? Like, how does this play out in somebody's day-to-day life, Dr. Amen?
So I used to play a game with my daughter when she was little. Her name is Chloe. And we called it Chloe's game. And I would say blueberries. And she would say 2 thumbs up, God's candy. And then I would say Frosted Flakes. She'd go, way too much sugar. Or avocados, 2 thumbs up, God's butter. Or hitting a soccer ball with your head. And she would just roll her eyes like, brain is soft, skull is hard. That would be so stupid. and so if you think of the standard American diet, sad, almost everything's bad for your brain. From the toast in the morning, to the sugar cereals, to the donuts, to the pastries, to the coffee with sugar and milk in it. No, those things are not great for the health of your brain. But if you did intermittent fasting and you sort of skip breakfast, well, that's good for your brain.
Why is intermittent fasting good for the brain?
Because it helps your brain clean up the trash that builds up from the day before. There's a term called autophagy, which is cells start to eat the extra trash that built up the day before. And so if you don't sleep, you don't have enough time for the cleaning crew to come and sort of clean up your brain. Intermittent fasting gives you a little bit more time to do that. So breakfast is marketing, and it's actually not essential. Now, for people who might have hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, then breakfast really is important. And kids who have ADD, for example, if they have protein in the morning, their medication lasts longer throughout the day. And when you and I were growing up, things like sausage and eggs were common for breakfast, where now, because everybody's on the run, it's sugar-laden cereals, juice. That was the only thing the second graders got wrong when I tested them. So I gave them a list of 20 things and I'm like, good for your brain or bad for it. And the only thing they got wrong was orange juice, which they put in the good category, but it's clearly in the bad category, because when is it rational to have the sugar from 4 oranges? It's not rational.
That's true. It makes a lot of sense. What are 3 micro habits that have the biggest impact on the health of your brain, other than asking yourself, is this good or bad for my brain?
So I start every day with today is going to be a great day. Because once you get the physical functioning of your brain healthy, you then have to program it. And so I knew I was going to talk to you. It's the first thing that came up in my mind. So I start every day. And if you have children, it's really good to do this at breakfast, which is if you have breakfast. So why is today going to be a great day for you? Directing your mind, which for many people, because of evolution, they wake up in a negative state. It puts your brain in a positive state. And then my favorite of all the habits I do is when I go to bed at night, I say a prayer and then I go, what went well today? And I go on a treasure hunt. And I actually start from the very moment I woke up looking for what was right about the day. And I've done this now 7 or 8 years. And even the night my dad died about 2.5 years ago, and it was an awful, awful day. I did it because it was my habit, right? The brain is lazy. It does what you nudge it to do. And so it really helped me even in a really hard time. But it's almost my favorite time of the day because like you, I'm busy and great things will happen and I'll just not really focus on it. But it's that treasure hunt that is just so good. And then I take my supplements every day because we live in a nutrient deficient society. And I always want to give my brain the nutrition it needs so it can serve me rather than derail me.
Is there one supplement that you believe everybody should take for better brain health?
Well, a couple, multiple vitamin, a really high quality multiple vitamin. I make one called Neurovite Plus. Brand new study showed people with memory problems who were headed to darkness when they took a high quality multiple vitamin, within a matter of months, their memory was better. So,
what?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. So you're saying that a high quality multivitamin can not only improve your memory, but if you're sliding on a slippery slope toward memory loss, research shows that it can actually bring memory back?
Yes, brand new research just came out. They're actually comparing it to placebo and cocoa extract, chocolate. And they were hoping the chocolate would do it. It wasn't the chocolate, it was the multiple vitamin. And why I developed Neurovite like I did, it has the same dosages of B6, B12, and folate that decrease the conversion of mild cognitive impairment to Alzheimer's disease. Now, I never make a disease claim with supplements, but if this level of B6, B12, and folate did that, I'm going to put those levels in our supplements.
Wow, I'm going to start popping it like candy is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that we link to that study and that we link to the supplements that you make as well, just so that people can check it out. That's incredible. So a multivitamin has a huge impact. I hear a lot about fish oil too.
And that would be number 2. I did a study at Amen Clinics and we found 98% of people had suboptimal levels of omega-3 fatty acids unless they were supplementing, because we don't have the same level of fish consumption we had before. Plus, fish is tricky. Brand new study out of Florida International University, so not very far from where I am today. They looked at bonefish off the coast of Florida. On average, they had 7 pharmaceutical medications in their tissues. And I'm like, no way. And the most common were antidepressants. So as humans, excrete the medications they take into, waste plants, that gets out into the ocean. And then the fish we eat are impacted by them in a negative way. Whoa. So one reason I like high quality fish oil, because it's purified, especially ours, but also omega-3 fatty acids have been found to be good for your heart, good for your brain, good for your hair, good for your skin, good for your eyes.
Why is it good for the brain?
25% of the nerve cell membranes in your brain are made up of omega-3 fatty acids. So if you're deficient, your brain is not going to work as fast and efficiently as it could. And low levels have been associated with all sorts of bad things, from depression to dementia to ADHD.
I used to think that the nervous system meant the nerves in your body. Well, I was wrong. Your nervous system is so much more than the nerves in your body. Your nervous system is a huge network and live system that includes your brain, spinal cord, your gut, and the network of nerves that connects and operates and communicates it all. So whenever you're listening to an expert talk about your neurology or your chemistry or biology or physiology or the way that synapses or neurons or all these fancy words fire and wire together, what they're describing is how your nervous system operates. And it operates in a way to keep you alive and to keep your body functioning. And most importantly, your nervous system is also designed to remember things that are threatening. And that's where trauma comes in. Because my goal here is to make this simple and to make this feel like something that is good news, because when you spot it, holy smokes, you can take the steps to repair this and experience more joy. And so I love my metaphors. So let's use one here on this topic of trauma and nervous system repair, because that's going to keep this very visual and it also makes this less heavy, okay? Because we're in the repair zone. We're not in the relive in the trauma zone, okay? When I think about my nervous system, from this point forward, whenever somebody says nervous system, I want you to think about electricity and the wiring in your home. Whether you live in an apartment or you live in a house, there is wires in those walls and there is power and electricity coursing through them. And it all connects to the light bulbs and the fire alarms and the smoke detectors, and it connects everything. Those wires, it powers it. And when the wiring in the building works properly, you know what happens? Easy breezy. You flip a switch, it's like magic. The lights come on. Things are smooth. They're predictable. You can even dim them up and down whenever you want to. You're in control. They're steady. They're bright. They glow. Isn't it wonderful, electricity? And the smoke alarms. We love our smoke alarms. Alarms are important because when they're working properly, when the batteries are charged, they're silent, which means we can sit in our beautiful, bright, wonderful, glowy apartment and we can enjoy our lives. And they stay silent unless there's a real emergency and they need to sound the alarm. Your nervous system is the wiring in your house. That's what it is. It's powering you. It's connecting everything. And it is designed to be reliable. It's designed to be consistent. It is designed to dim up and dim down. It is designed to come on and to come off. Trauma and these experiences that you and I have lived through, it's just any experience that puts a nick in the wiring. That's it. Like a little mouse that has chewed through the wire. Oops, the light went out. Or maybe you have something big happen. And I don't know, you're doing some demo and you knock down the wrong wall. Somebody knocks down the wrong wall. And next thing you know, boom, the whole thing is blown. Or maybe it's a circuit breaker that gets overwhelmed and it just flips off and it's no longer working. Or when the batteries run low in your fire alarms and in the middle of the night, it's like beep, beep, beep. Even though there's nothing wrong, it's going off. It's so annoying. That's what it's like to live with a nervous system that needs repair. When your nervous system needs repair, it's because the wiring inside you has damage to it. That's it. That's all that it is. And it's like the lights are blinking, or they don't turn on when you need them to turn on, or the fire alarm is going off and nothing is wrong. And what I'm here to tell you is when you recognize that trauma is what caused this issue, but you have within you the power to find the little break and to repair it so that the energy inside of you flows freely and is steady and is bright and is reliable. Holy cow, your whole life changes because you don't feel on edge anymore. You can relax. You can be at peace. You can let love in because you're not having the energy in you like not work right. I love this metaphor so much because when I visually see the simplicity of how you repair things and how you get the lights back on and working again, we can apply that to the tools you're about to learn. And I'm not trying to downplay the trauma you may have experienced. I'm trying to lift up and highlight the power that you have inside you to heal this. And so let me give you an example. In the last house that we lived in outside of Boston, from the very day 15 years ago that we had bought our fridge, the person that installed it nicked the water line and the ice maker never worked. And because the fridge was jammed into a cabinet, we couldn't pull it out to fix it. And so for the last 15 years, I have had a refrigerator that does not make ice. I personally love ice. I love ice in my drinks. So this has always been a big pet peeve of mine. And so when we moved to Vermont, the number one thing on my wish list was an ice maker. Like not just the ice maker in the fridge, but a real, true ice maker with a scoop. Like this was the thing I really wanted. And so here's what's happened. I don't know what's wrong with our ice maker, but our ice maker constantly overwhelms the electrical circuit in this house. Honest to goodness, 3 to 4 times a week, I go to open the thing up and it's either drained of all the ice or the light is off, and it's because the circuit could not handle the surge. And so what did it do? It just shut down. That is the exact same thing that happens to you in some situations. There's a situation that triggers something and you have this surge of emotion that you can't handle and you shut down. And so several times a week, I have to go down in the basement. I got to open up the circuit breaker panel. And every time I go down there, I'm like, why have we labeled this thing in pencil that I can barely even read? I need to get a Sharpie and I have to line up the label with where the breaker is and find the breaker that is flipped off and count the numbers down the left-hand side and then count to where I think the thing is. And then I finally find the little switch and I flip it back on and boom, electricity is flowing again. And I'm using that example because I do this 3 or 4 times a week. That ice maker, it is overwhelming the circuits. It is a fact. At some point, we might have to replace the actual, wiring or the thing it plugs into. Not sure what's going on there. But I can find the switch and I can flip it and it works again. And in doing that, I'm repairing the connection so that everything runs smoothly. And so when people talk about nervous system repair, it's the exact same thing. That there are deliberate things that you can do to basically notice when the lights go out or they're blinking or there's an alarm going off or there's a surge of emotion that overwhelms you. And when that happens, you find the fuse box, you find the switch that got flipped, and you simply flip it back and things will run smoothly. And the more that you do this, the faster you will repair your nervous system. And what happens when you repair your nervous system is that situations that typically trigger you, to feel a flood of emotion and either shut down or snap at people or get frustrated or whatever your version of that is when that alarm comes on, the anxiety that you feel, that when you start to practice the tools, and it begins with awareness, honestly, you are doing the work to repair your nervous system. And the more that you do this, the less triggered you get, the less overwhelmed you become when you're in difficult situations, the more you can tolerate and handle emotions that are uncomfortable. And that means you feel more capable, you feel more in control, you feel proud of yourself. So let me give you a few examples of how this plays out in terms of having a nervous system that was dysregulated because of trauma and that is in need of repair right now. So let's just say, a lot of you write in about this, that you grew up with a really verbally abusive parent. I guarantee you, as soon as you heard the front door open or their car pull up in the driveway at the end of a workday, it's almost like my ice maker. There was a surge of emotion, it got overwhelming, and something either shut down or the alarm went off inside you. That's what happened. Now, you didn't manually turn on the alarm or shut down the switch. It's your dad's presence. It just triggered the alarm. And you were smart. You were really smart to get overwhelmed and to be triggered because he was unpredictable. And so being on high alert, sounding the alarm, feeling that surge of emotion, that was a good thing in that situation because it kept you safe. Now, here's the problem. The problem is now, 30 years later, it's 6 o'clock. You're fine. You don't live with your father. You're safe. You've been in therapy. But it's 6 o'clock and you can't explain. Why do you feel on edge at the end of the workday? Why do you feel on edge when somebody pulls into the driveway? Why do you feel on edge when the sun starts to go down? I'll tell you why you feel on edge. You don't remember this, not consciously, but your nervous system sure does. So that's why you can't put your finger on it. I want you to consider this is an example of trauma. This is an example of why repairing your nervous system, that's how you change your experience of life when 6 o'clock rolls around. Because just like I didn't want to continue to wake up every morning and feel like something was wrong, repairing my nervous system is how I am now able to wake up every morning and feel okay. I don't even feel nervous or anxious about it. I feel perfectly fine because I have repaired the trauma that I experienced in 4th grade. Or here's another example. Maybe you weren't the greatest student when you were younger. So walking into a classroom or being asked to read something out loud when you were 7 years old felt like a life-threatening situation to your little brain because you stuttered or you couldn't read very well and your friends laughed. And so now let's fast forward 20 years. And you're wondering, why do I keep getting passed over for a promotion at this consulting firm that I work at? I work hard. I put in long hours. My clients all love me. I'll tell you why. It's because you're not vocal or visible at work. And you can blame trauma for that. Because every time you walk into a meeting or you've got to advocate for yourself or you've got to present something to your boss, guess what happens? Your nervous system remembers what it was like to be called on when you were 7 years old. And you feel this wave of emotions, just like my ice maker sends this wave of energy at the breaker, and then you shut down. You don't speak up as much. You don't advocate for yourself. You're not as aggressive as you need to be. And that's why you're getting passed over. You have the same response as an adult like you did as a kid. Now you know what to do, and here's where it gets interesting. This is not about what's in your head. It's what's remembered in your body. This is all about the surge of emotion and feeling. Now, I know that this is a lot, but I want to underscore that there's really good news. There's really good news because when you spot this, you can fix this. You can repair your nervous system. And when you do, you will be able to feel more relaxed. You'll be more in control. You'll be more competent, more capable. You'll put yourself out there more. You'll take more risks, and you will experience more joy. And I want to remind you one more thing that I think is really encouraging. I didn't know any of this 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I was still waking up feeling like something was wrong, and I was still running around like a lunatic, super busy. You want to know why? Also trauma. Because if you think about what happened to me, I was sound asleep. When I woke up and found that kid on top of me, I had been in a safe, sound asleep situation. So, of course, I don't feel comfortable being still. If I'm busy, nobody can catch me. Nobody can hurt me. And I didn't trace that addiction to busyness back to that 4th grade incident until literally a couple years ago. And so I'm telling you all this because that's a relatively short amount of time. And it's a relatively short amount of time for me to completely transform what it's like to live in my body and in my mind and how I'm showing up in relationships. My old friends will tell you I am a completely different person today. And it has to do with repairing my nervous system. If you lean into what I'm talking about, this is liberating because I realize there's nothing wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with you. You and I, we just have a nervous system that needs a little attention. Maybe you need to tighten some screws. Maybe you need to replace some wiring. Maybe you need to flip a switch and check the circuit breaker. No problem. You can do all that. And so my goal today is to make you think differently, completely differently about your own power and to really see your nervous system as a source of your power and as a source of peace and of confidence that you can tap into. And so for me, what happened when we did this project back in 2019 is I started to get really serious about the connection between past trauma and traumatic experiences and situations where my nervous system is like ding, 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 and healing it. And in the past 4 years, boy, I've done just about everything. I've been in therapy. Chris and I have been in therapy. I have done this EMDR, which we'll talk about more in other episodes, which is this kind of eye movement therapy, again, a trauma modality. I have incorporated cold exposure, ice baths, that kind of stuff as a way to train my nervous system. I've done several guided psychedelic therapy things with psychiatrists that have been profoundly moving and helpful. And I am here to tell you that it is possible to heal the disruption that you feel in your body. Even if you're sitting here listening and you're saying to yourself, I really don't think I have any trauma, Mel. That may be true. I doubt it. But here's what you do have. You have a nervous system. And if you're tired of getting irritated when somebody cuts you off in traffic and then you can't shake how rattled you feel, if you get completely worked up about the dumbest things or you just cannot stop worrying all the time, I want to tell you something. This all comes back to your nervous system too. If you want to be successful in business, get your nervous system in repair. I have had more success now that I have a nervous system that is working with me and that keeps me confident and calm and cool-headed than ever before. And so this impacts everything. And I'm going to talk about this because I'm getting a lot of questions about those of you that can't focus, that you're having trouble like prioritizing the business that you want to launch. And I want you to truly consider that the nervous system repair is a really critical piece to you being able to operate on all cylinders, to do your best thinking, and to achieve the results that you want. Check out this question from a listener named Uzke.
Hello, Mel. So, the biggest thing I'm struggling with is my new mindset I want to keep up with. I want my mindset be out of survival mode because right now I feel like I'm standing in my own way, which sucks a lot. Thanks a lot for your hard work. I'm sending lots of love from Germany.
I don't mean to laugh, but that part at the end, which sucks a lot. I mean, that was just so cute. Anytime anybody says survival mode, that to me is code for past trauma. If you're in survival mode, if you cannot focus, if you're triggered all the time and highly emotional and you're taking things personally, please focus on nervous system repair because your lights are blinking right now. And somewhere back in the subconscious, There is an alarm whose battery is dying and it is going beep, 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 beep. And I am here to tell you, and this comes from research at UCLA, one of the reasons why nervous system repair is so critical, this is research from Dr. Judith Willis, is that when your nervous system is dysregulated and you are in this state where the lights are blinking or the alarm is going off, which, the way we talk about it is you kind of feel on edge. Everything that Uzge is talking about, I can't focus, I can't do this, I'm getting triggered every day. The reason why you can't focus is because when your nervous system is triggered like that, it overrides the prefrontal cortex and the cognitive region of your brain. You can't focus because your nervous system is in control. And repairing your nervous system so you're not going through your day-to-day life in survival mode, feeling triggered, feeling untethered, feeling like something is about to happen. Repairing your nervous system is what will improve your focus, because you can't focus if your nervous system is in control. This isn't just common sense, it's science. It is possible to go from being a person who feels on edge, waiting for the next shoe to drop, like everything is wrong, triggered, to being calm, cool, and centered. And I have come to believe, based on my own experience, my husband's experience, the research that we've been doing, the research that's out there, that all mental health issues do not begin in the mind. They begin in your nervous system. Because the truth is that you feel a sensation in your body first. And that sensation in your body then triggers your mind to try to make sense of it. If you're still listening to this and you're like, this isn't me, I got 55 people I'm going to forward this to because they need to hear this, just stop. Absolutely everybody, particularly after the past 3 years, just think about what you just lived through. There's not a single human being that can sit on 50 hours of Zoom calls a week and work for home while your kids are underfoot and the dog is there and nobody knows what's going on and masks and all of this. We're not built for this. Of course the lights are blinking. Of course you cannot focus. Of course you're having trouble with procrastinating and stress and anxiety. And it's not just documented in the research. This is freaking common sense. We have lived in a state of uncertainty, sustained, for 3 years. The alarm system in your body has gone off. And it's not just you. I've given over 150 presentations in the last year about the research related to productivity, to stress, to mindset. Whether I've been talking to Microsoft or Starbucks or JP Morgan or Biogen or Compass Real Estate, absolutely everybody, including you, is having trouble focusing and being productive, and it's because of our nervous system. We have not gone into our fuse box and found the switch and flipped ourselves back into normal operating mode. And it's time we do it. This is not a conversation for losers. This is a conversation for winners. I don't want to operate with blinking lights. I am sick of this crap. So I am going to show you that there is a treasure inside of you, in your body, that you have within you, the ability to heal your nervous system. You have within you this incredible switch. It is literally like a circuit breaker fuse that you can locate and you can flip on and off in moments where, just like my ice maker, there is that surge. Or just like those situations where you don't know why, but you just suddenly feel overwhelmed or triggered or on edge. And what you're about to learn, this is it. If you want to achieve your goals, if you want to knock it out of the park this year, if you'd like to make more money than you ever thought possible and also enjoy it while you do it, are you interested in being more confident, more present, happier, content? Well, then take this next part of the conversation seriously. Because when we come back, I am going to bring you back home into your body. I'm going to show you simple ways that you can settle your mind, your body, and spirit when life triggers you. And I want you to get serious about this. So now that you understand what the nervous system is, we got to go a layer deeper. because we are not going to be screwing around with the wiring unless you really understand what's going on. I don't know if you've ever had a situation where somebody in your family's like, oh, I'll just repair the light. And you're like, no, we better make sure that don't you dare. You got to turn off the breaker, make sure you're safe. And so let's go a layer deeper here. When you start to do nervous system repair, I want you to understand that nervous system repair is your ability to switch between the two nervous systems that you have. That's right, you have two nervous systems. You have a parasympathetic nervous system and you have a sympathetic nervous system. And when you're happy, safe, when the lights are flowing the way they need to, when the dimmers work, when the alarm's off, that is your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the one we want to flip on, okay? That's the nervous system that allows you to relax. It allows you to tap into your confidence. It allows you to focus. It allows you to do your best work. It allows you to let in love and experience joy. I love, love, love the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the other nervous system is the one that we need to deal with, and that's the sympathetic nervous system, which is a really weird name because sympathetic is what researchers call the fight or flight nervous system. Sympathetic is the alarm bell. It's the part of the nervous system that got turned on during traumatic situations. It got turned on as you were experiencing discrimination or poverty or teasing or abandonment or any of the various things that we've talked about that could trigger a traumatic experience. And here's the thing. If that sympathetic nervous system gets flipped on, it can get stuck there. And what you have to repair is you've got to repair it by turning it off when you get triggered. I am telling you that part of the reason why we're having a hard time reclaiming our confidence and our focus and our presence and our contentment in this world today is because we are all in a state where our fight or flight or fawn or freeze nervous system is still on. And we're going to turn it off today. And here's how we're going to do it. Because you've got this wiring, right? Running through your body, just like electricity runs through the walls of a house. And the electricity is always there. Nervous system and the wiring's always there. But in order to turn the lights on and off, you flip a switch. And there is a switch inside you. This is so cool. I wish they taught this to kids in school. This should be human being 101. When they hand a baby in a car seat to parents, they should also give them a little pamphlet about the vagus nerve, because we all need to know this. This is a game changer. The vagus nerve is a treasure in your body. And for free, you can learn how to use it to soothe yourself, to gain your confidence, to flip between being on edge and being calm. And you want to be calm, because when you're calm, you can make better decisions. When you're calm, you're present in your life. When you're calm and confident and safe and secure in your body, you're a better leader. You're better with your family. Like, this is the heart of everything. Because if you're running around like I used to run around, feeling on edge and dysregulated and easily triggered, this is a nervous system issue. That's what this is. This is your nervous system revved up. This is you living on edge as if something's wrong. This is like, you know, when you get a text and you immediately feel like you've done something wrong. And then you rewrite the text 15 times and you throw an emoji so nobody's mad at you. You want to know why you do that? Your nervous system. You're on edge. Everything's a threat. Everything makes you triggered. And so when I got serious about this, I discovered the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is our secret to changing this. It is a light switch that helps you turn the light on or off. And I believe that in some way, your life, or the last 3 years, or the uncertainty that you have come through, or the issues in your life that you have survived, have left the light switch on. Your nervous system is in a state of alert. that annoying light bulb is blinking in the background, and it's time to turn it off. And so we're going to turn it off using the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs from your seat all the way through your body, through every major organ, through your vocal cords, and all the way up to the top of your head. And the technical term, when you flip the switch, is you're, quote, toning the vagus nerve. That's what researchers and neuroscientists say. I just say, let's just flip the switch. Let's just use the vagus nerve. And there's lots of ways that you can do this. So the vagus nerve, when you hum, when you sing, I think one of the reasons why so many of us love singing, whether you're singing in a religious ceremony or you're singing with friends or you're singing in the car as you're driving, you don't realize this, but in addition to just music's awesome, is that when you are singing, you are flipping the switch on the vagus nerve in your vocal cords. Another way that you can flip the switch is high-fiving your heart. So we wrote about this in the High Five Habit. You just take your hands, and let's do this together right now. We're going to put our hands right in the center of our chest. Put one hand right on top of the other. Okay? And then we're going to take a breath together. Here we go. And I want you to just push in, because I really want your vagus nerve to know, okay, we're going to turn you on, and we're going to take another breath in. And then you're going to repeat 3 sentences with me. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. And I bet even just in those 15 seconds, you felt yourself come back home into your body. And if you can hear yourself even thinking those 3 things, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved, it's true in this moment. And it's a way for you to signal to the vagus nerve that you've just pressed on that you're okay right now. It's okay. We can flip the switch off. We can come back into our body. And one of the cool things about this high-fiving your heart is we did a study with 164,000 people in 91 countries. So a study with 164,000 data points. And this worked for absolutely everybody that tried it as a calming tool. That a lot of kids started using it in school. Like, you get picked on, you go into the bathroom, high five your heart. You can come back to your center. You can flip off the alarm that got triggered by some kid picking on you. And you can flip the switch and come back into your confidence. People at work, you do a presentation and everybody stares at you like you got 4 heads and nobody says good job and you get triggered. Of course you get triggered. Put your hands on the heart. Come back into your body. Flip the switch off. Regain your calm, confident self. This is available to you. And I want you to use it because I don't think you realize how much your nervous system getting triggered when somebody cuts you off in traffic. Zzz, there it goes. See? Everybody's out to get me. No, they're not. Hands on the heart. Come back into your body. Turn the lights off. Flip the switch. Get your power back. Another way you can do this, take a warm bath. Just go soak in a tub. It's amazing. I love doing that. Absolutely love doing that. And another way that you can do this, you see this all over the internet. Cold exposure therapy. Now, I have a tub that I climb into. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. But this has been transformational because when you put yourself in a situation, whether you're jumping into a lake or you're sitting in a cold bathtub or whatever, standing in a cold shower, just end your shower with 30 seconds of cold water. It sucks. And what you're doing is you're exposing your body to a situation where your nervous system turns on. The lights go on, baby, when you climb into 34-degree water. And it freaks out. And then you calm yourself down by breathing. And you are training yourself that even in situations where I get triggered, even in situations that are awful, like 34-degree water that I'm sitting in, I have the power to flip this switch and calm my ass down, breathe through it, and know that I'm going to be okay. That's a freaking superpower. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, are you shitting me, Mel Robbins? You're telling me to deal with trauma by taking a freaking bath? You're telling me that I can handle abuse from childhood and poverty and all this crap that I've had to like deal with, losing my spouse, and by taking a cold shower? What is wrong with you, woman? Yeah, I am telling you that because this is not about the shower. This is not about the bath. This is about you and your nervous system. This is about you training yourself that you have the power to be okay no matter what's going on around you. That you are bigger than the things that you survived. That, yeah, by standing in a shower, you're training yourself for confidence, for the capacity to feel something and get triggered and not let it hijack your life. That's what this is about. And when you do that, you take that new you into your life. You take a person who has the capacity to have shit go sideways in your life and not get hijacked by it. You become the kind of person that could have survived horrendous trauma and be able to heal yourself over time. You become someone, like there is this incredible power in you. I've spent my whole life feeling rattled and on edge. And I'm telling you, I got serious about healing my nervous system and understanding the role that it plays in my day-to-day life and understanding how when I'm easily triggered and on edge, I'm a shitty mom. And don't even get me started about what a nightmare spouse I am. When I'm nervous and on edge, like I make the people that work for me nervous and on edge. I am a better leader, a better parent, a better wife, and I am a way better Mel in terms of what I'm experiencing. And so I've already explained the therapy, EMDR, the guided psychedelic therapy that we have done both as a couple, as individuals. We've recently done something guided by therapists as a family, which was extraordinary. And high-fiving your heart, humming, chanting, all of these things that tone your vagus nerve. But there are two other things that you can do that are free that will help you dip a toe in the water of exploration. One is audit your day. Just keep a notebook. This is free. And just notice when the wave of emotion comes up. And all you have to do is just kind of write down just what happened and what triggered it. Was it a particular thing somebody said? Was it a look on their face? Was it just a feeling that you got? And just become curious about it. Not like, oh, something's wrong, but just like, oh, interesting. I wonder where that faulty switch is. I wonder where that little nick is. Where's that little mouse that chewed on something that's a blinking light. That's all that is. So get curious about it. And then start to ask yourself, when you get home tonight and you sit down, it's kind of quiet, go, when else have I felt like this? When else in my life or who else have I felt this around? What situations where did I have a similar thing? And you'll start to be able to trace back. And that is a pattern of responding to a certain type of situation a certain way. And so you can do this free audit, and that will help you become more self-aware. And that then helps you to apply the tools you just learned in those moments when you feel the surge coming. It also helps you avoid those situations. It helps you talk to somebody about those situations. And one other thing that you can do is journaling is an incredible way to either start or end your day and start to forge not only new neural pathways, but new stories and new awareness around these things. And so one prompt that you can use that we've talked about is, how can I make this easy? Another thing that you could do if what you're seeking is peace is you could write, how can I make today peaceful? How could I make myself feel safe today? Those are all prompts that you can use to cue your mind, body, and spirit and your nervous system that this is something that matters to you, and to really just gain awareness around it, because you are able to be in control of your emotions. You are able to repair your nervous system, and you can take control and not let this response that has been with you for a very long time continue to control you. And that's the opportunity here that's really exciting. If you feel like there's big things that you can't access, that there's this missing piece, that happiness is evading you, that you just can't quite put your finger on why you're in this cycle of relationships, I'm telling you, please take your nervous system seriously. Please start to investigate more about the vagus nerve. And, this is one of those topics where I was going to pull out studies and do all this stuff, but there's so many studies on this. Like, it's sort of like meditation. Which meditation study do you cite? There's so many. The vagus nerve is incredible. The new research coming out about the therapeutic modalities that are helping trauma and depression, all going back to nervous system regulation. Incredible. And your kids are experiencing situations that make their nervous systems sound the alarm. And so you can teach them these tools too. And when you do, what you're training yourself to do is you're training yourself to locate this power source inside you. Because we all know there are going to be things in life that trigger you, period. There are going to be moments where I walk on snow and I go right back to that car crash. But I don't have to let that memory or that trauma experience then ruin the rest of the day. I can come back into my center and turn the light switch off. I can find my power. There are going to be plenty of people that tell me no in business. And I get bummed and I get rattled and I go down the rabbit hole. I'm not good enough. And I can soak in my misery and wallow for a little bit. And then I can locate the switch inside me and I can turn the alarm off. And so can you. And when you do, you will discover that not only is there a whole different world out there waiting for you, but there's a whole different you waiting inside of you that will allow you to experience happiness and presence at a capacity that you can't imagine. Like, if you've ever gotten a puppy or a kitten, or you've ever had a baby, or you've ever fallen in love, these experiences make you realize you have a capacity for love that's greater than you realized. And doing the work to locate the vagus nerve and flip the switch on and off and settle my nervous system from disruption and dysregulation and on-edgeness to calm, cool okayness, it's been the single biggest change I've ever made in terms of the impact that it's had on the quality of my day-to-day life. And so we're going to do a shitload of shows on this. And I'm going to introduce you to all kinds of things you can do over time. We are just getting started on this, but I think that particularly this time of year, whenever it is that you're listening to this, as you're thinking about ways to be happier and healthier, this is a huge component of it. And so please locate that switch and start flipping it off. And you'll be shocked. I mean, it's just awesome. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.